we're going to be talking about smoking today.
Yeah.
And smoking, I know smoking itself, smoking meat, is geographically suited to this region.
Yes.
I don't know about pigs, but certainly to the native peoples and fish, you know. And so there's a reason why it works well here. And
Smoking salmon.
Yeah, there's so many reasons to smoke, but that, if you're going for terroir, which we talk about a lot, if you're going for culinary preparations that work well in your region, smoking is one of them, and we're in smoking season right now, so I thought, well, actually, collectively, we thought it would be a good topic to talk about today.
Yeah.
So how do we enter into this?
Get into smoking?
Yeah, it's a huge topic.
Well, I think it's very appropriate to this region because one of the elements pre-refrigeration, pre the widespread use thereof, of meat curing is preservation. I mean, that's not one of the elements. That is the element. Like, we cured meat to preserve it. It wasn't just flavoring. And one of the key elements of preservation is drying meat. And you can imagine it's actually tricky to dry meat in northerly climes where we live, Northern Europe. It's difficult. Around the Mediterranean, where there's the constant light breeze. And but still sort of balmy humidity, but not enough to make things spoil. There's no traditions of smoking. None, or very few. In fact, off the top of my head, I can't think of one Italian cured meat that is smoked. They just don't do it because it wasn't a practical necessity to dry out their meat. It dried out all by itself in the climate of the Mediterranean. So it just wasn't necessary. But then you get north, and things get colder, and they get wetter, and the humidity and the weather is more volatile. Like, we get lots of changes, drastic throughout the seasons in terms of temperature and humidity fluctuations. And so we actually had to create a separate place where we could successfully and semi-controlled manner dry out our meat to preserve it. And that's what the smokehouse is. Because if you think about it, you can't dry out meat that's frozen rock hard. It doesn't dry out. It's frozen. All the water is locked in the meat. And drying is just the, escape of water from flesh. So if it's too cold, you're not drying meat. And then if it's really wet outside, you're also not drying meat. And so you create a place where you can use fire to both warm up from the freezing temperatures and remove moisture. And fire does both of those things. It provides heat and it lowers the ambient humidity. And it's just genius. And so smoking in the northern hemisphere, farther north, is very much just essential.
Well, it makes sense too, because you have cultures, let's say British cultures, that we emulate quite often, just naturally, and also because we're inclined, where our palates, are inclined there. Yeah. But they have fireplaces that warm the house, and they also that's where you store the meat inside the chimney, right? So
yeah, the Inglenook used to be like the smokehouse and the open fire cookery and the warming oven to revive, almost dead kittens and livestock. Like, it was just everything. It was a walk-in fireplace where you could do so much. Build fires right on the floor in bread ovens, and then more nooks further up where you could hang meat. Yeah.
So smoking is part of that hearth. And at hearth, I mean like the center of the home, in just the most cozy, warm feeling that you can think of. Smoking can be very much part of the center of the family, really.
Yeah, built around the fire.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it tastes real well. And I think that is no accident. I think that, it's always interesting to think of what came first. And we tend to believe that it's the utilitarian drive that that starts all the things that we do. All of the refined cultural arts began as practical necessity. So smoking would be a prime example of that. It's too cold and too moist for the meat to dry, so eventually it's just going to rot. Therefore, we must smoke it. We must put it closer to the fire that we've been using to warm ourselves. And we do that long enough, and then we grow accustomed to it. And then we build whole generations on eating smoked meat. And now it is the icon of comfort food. And it has completely transcended its pure survival purposes to this realm of a highly refined art. And I just think that's an interesting play. And I would wonder to see, because humans are weirdos. We're weird. We think about survival and opulence like in the same breath, We think about thrift and extravagance simultaneously.
Yeah.
And even animals do this. Like if you're chasing, which I highly discommend, don't ever do this. If you're chasing livestock, it's not, if you get yourself in a position where you're doing a slaughter and the sheep are running and the farmer did not pen them. And so you're running like a moron to catch the sheep that you're supposed to slaughter. I can only imagine what this is like. I've never done it. Not really. It's funny because you could be chasing them. You are the wolf at that point.
Yeah.
If you're chasing sheep, you are death. That is what you mean to the sheep, and they are fleeing for their lives. Nonetheless, the moment they get up beyond their flight distance from you, they just start grazing. And then you get a little closer, and they run again, and they're we're gonna die.
Yeah.
And then they're 50 yards away, and they start grazing immediately. It's so funny. Herding animals, especially, are that way, and so they can just switch immediately from flight to preserve life to grass. Let's eat, just instantly in a moment. And so I wonder how hard and fast that distinction between survival and thrival, it's not a word, but really is, between thrift and extravagance.
Yeah.
If there wasn't some creative impulse towards, this make the meat keep well, but gee, it also tastes real nice. I mean, they had to notice that right away.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's what comes first?
Right.
I guess that's the ancient question. So this is technically the oldest philosophical question there is is it the form or the content?
Sure.
Is it the essence or the existence?
Yeah.